If you talk a lot about money, success, or your next big move, I already know something about you. Not your income, not your intelligence, but your position. You're exposed. People with real control don't explain themselves. They don't announce what they're building. They move quietly, because power weakens the moment it becomes entertainment. Before you get defensive, slow down. This isn't about ego, it's about patterns. And once you see this pattern, you'll start noticing it everywhere. The loudest person in the room is almost never the one making the decisions. They're usually the one trying to be noticed. We live in an attention economy, where likes feel like progress, followers feel like authority, and views feel like power. But attention doesn't equal ownership, and ownership is the only thing that creates freedom. Attention doesn't protect you. It puts a spotlight on you. And spotlights attract pressure, judgment, and competition. The more visible you are, the more energy you spend defending your image instead of building leverage. Every visible position becomes a target. Your opinions, your plans, your weaknesses. The moment people know your move, you lose surprise. And surprise is one of the most valuable advantages you can have. The second you start talking about your goals, your plans, your next step, you stop building and start performing. You trade execution for narration. And narration feels productive, but it produces nothing. When everyone knows what you're trying to do, they know how to slow you down, how to distract you, and how to copy you. Silence keeps options open. Noise closes them. Most people don't do this on purpose. They do it because validation feels good. Being seen feels like movement, even when nothing is actually changing behind the scenes. Validation gives you dopamine without results. Your brain thinks you're winning, but your position stays the same. That's why so many people feel busy and stay broke. People who actually build wealth learn something very early. There's a difference between being admired and being untouchable. Admiration fades. Control compounds. And the moment you stop chasing attention, you start gaining leverage. Status is loud by design. It needs witnesses. Control doesn't. Control prefers silence because silence protects options. And options are power. Status wants validation. Control wants positioning. Status posts. Control prepares. That's why the quiet ones usually decide how the game is played. The loudest people rarely own anything meaningful. They rent cars. They rent homes. They rent respect. Ownership doesn't need approval. They don't own systems. They don't own leverage. They don't own time. They're paying monthly to maintain an image that gives nothing back. This is where systems separate amateurs from operators. Because systems don't depend on mood, confidence, or belief. They run whether you feel inspired or exhausted. And over time, systems quietly outperform talent, hype, and raw ambition. A system removes emotion from decision-making. You don't ask yourself how you feel today. You follow the structure. That's why systems scale while motivation collapses under pressure. Motivation feels powerful because it's loud. But loud things burn fast. The moment life applies pressure, motivation disappears. And most people disappear with it. Systems don't disappear. They stay when things get boring. They stay when progress feels slow. And whatever stays long enough eventually wins. So pause for a moment. Not for content, not for anyone watching. Ask yourself something honestly. Do you want to look successful right now, or do you want control later? Because early success usually costs long-term leverage. Attention feels rewarding today. Control pays quietly tomorrow. And the uncomfortable truth is, you can't fully chase both at once. That's why the people with real power are hard to find. They're not hiding. They're simply not performing for strangers. Invisibility isn't weakness. It's insulation. It protects focus. It protects momentum. It protects leverage while it's still fragile. Pay attention to this pattern. The people with the most leverage are almost invisible. You don't hear their opinions everywhere. You don't see their daily moves, and that's intentional. Visibility is expensive. Privacy is efficient. Invisibility isn't weakness. It's insulation. It protects focus when focus matters most. It removes outside pressure before your position is strong enough to handle it. If you want real wealth, you must disappear during the construction phase, before results exist, before proof shows up, before people start asking questions. Let results speak for you. Results don't argue. They don't explain themselves. They don't post stories or ask for validation. They quietly change how people treat you. And once results exist, conversation becomes unnecessary. This is why real wealth feels invisible at first. Because nothing looks impressive while it's being built. Only after the structure is finished does everyone pretend they saw it coming. I wrote this entire framework for people who are done performing. People who don't want motivation. They want clarity. They want structure. They want systems that work even when life gets chaotic. There is no hype in real wealth. No countdowns. No dramatic announcements. No big reveals. Because hype attracts noise, and noise attracts problems. Real money avoids both. Wealthy people rely on systems, not emotion. Systems that work when motivation disappears. Systems that don't care how confident you feel. If your income depends on mood or inspiration, you don't own a system. You own a fragile habit. This is where most people get confused. They think freedom comes from being seen. But visibility creates dependency. Control comes from removing yourself from that need entirely. So stop announcing your plans. Stop explaining your next move. Every explanation leaks leverage. Every announcement invites resistance. Build privately. Stack assets quietly. Create systems before reputation.
Because foundation without noise compounds faster than anyone expects. Silence doesn't chase attention. Silence protects focus. Silence compounds leverage. And while others talk and perform, silence keeps building. That's why silence always wins.